Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, one of the things I don't like to do is to interrupt happy people. And you all seem so very happy, the chatter. The one request I would make, though, again, my name is Rosa Colquitt, but the one... The one request I would make, I have these flashbacks of Wayne Morse 2022. I don't know what it was that night, but talk about happy people. I think I may have competed with about 40 tables until the end of the event. So at some point tonight, we'll ask you very gently, we'll try and quieten you, because we have some very important folks that are going to be speaking. But again, welcome, welcome. We are elated to see you together this weekend for the 12th Biennial Oregon Summit. This is summit number 4 for me, so I kind of felt my way over today, and I was reminded of the state that I serve. I wake up every day, and the DPO staff and other folks really get a little tired of it, but I let them know, you know something, I wake up every day feeling so grateful and so humbled, but then privileged because I get to serve the people of Oregon. I get to serve the Democratic Party of Oregon, and that is an honor. Truly. Before I do a little recognizing folks, there's a group of people that I want to recognize, and I don't want us to ever forget them. I want to recognize the workers, the people that do this work, and the hands that prepare your food. They're around the room. And I'd also like to recognize all of our officers. If you're here in the room, please wave your hand around so folks will know who I get to work with. And of course, a very, very special thank you to the DPO staff who are ensuring that this weekend runs smoothly, and that if you need help, they're going to be there to help you. So please know that you can recognize staff by their yellow name badges if you need assistance, and I know they're more than happy to assist you. Now I am pleased to welcome to the stage Amanda Page, who is a Redmond School Board member and an enrolled member of the Klamath Tribe. Amanda, where are you? Oh.
Thank you. Waklisat Galasasis Amanda Page, Nua Alexikni Koi Modoki. Hello, welcome. My name is Amanda Page. I am, like she said, an enrolled member of the Klamath Tribes. I am a descendant from the Klamath or Lake people and the Modoc or people from the south. They asked me to give a land acknowledgement, which is not my favorite thing to do because I feel like land acknowledgements are often just words and they're not backed by action. And I believe in action and I'm a person of action. You're kind. So instead, what I'm going to offer tonight is a little bit of knowledge sharing. I come from people who are storytellers, and so that's where I'm going to start with sharing this knowledge. I grew up in Chiloquin, Oregon, which is south of here a little bit. It is the heart of the Klamath Reservation that was terminated years ago when my mom was about 3 years old. And I grew up in the town, and I went to school in a school that was about 60% indigenous kids, and it was almost 100% poverty. You looked around and no one had money, no one had access to resources, but at the same time, I did not recognize that we lived in poverty because we always had enough to eat. And I'll tell you why we always had enough to eat. It's because my ancestors in the treaty rights, they signed into hunting and fishing rights. So when we were hungry, we would go out and gather, or we would go out and fish, or we'd hunt. And so people were never hungry. And then if people who couldn't go out and gather or hunt, like our elders, we would bring them venison. And so we had a strong sense of community, and I did not know that I lived in poverty. It took a while. I went to school there my entire life. I graduated from high school there, and towards the end of my years, I started to see how people looked at us as Indigenous people, and they looked down on us. And I saw that there was a lot of substance abuse in our community, and all I could think when I was graduating is, I want to get the hell out of here and never come back. I never want to live in this despair. And so I left, and I went to college. And then something happened that I think happens to most people. I got wise as I got older, and I got more clarity about what was important. And what I realized was important was my people were important, and my land was important. And so I've spent the years since then working my way back to get to my homeland. And so a few years ago, I was working in Redmond, Oregon as a flight paramedic, and this thing called COVID happened. And working as a flight paramedic, you're up close and personal with how devastating that disease was, and particularly how devastating it was for the geriatric population. And if you know anything about Indigenous people, you know that I was incredibly concerned because our geriatric population is our elders, and they're our most treasured possessions. Possession is the wrong word. Our most treasured people. And so I would call home, and I'd get reports, and I'd hear that an elder had passed. Almost every time I called, an elder had passed. And this matters to us because our elders are the holders of our knowledge. They're the ones that have all of our life ways and our culture and our history. And they're the ones that pass it on. And it's particularly important, although it's important for every tribe, but for ours, as a tribe that had been terminated and had a lot of our culture removed through that and assimilation and boarding schools like my grandma went to, we lost culture that we didn't have to lose. Every time an elder passed, we lost part of who we are and the knowledge of who we were. And so it was really disheartening. But some good things happened during COVID too. I would call home and I heard awesome things like our tribe had access to vaccines when no one else did. And they were not only vaccinating their tribal members, they were vaccinating the entire community around them, because our people know the value of taking care of one another. And one day when I was particularly disheartened after watching another person die, I called home to talk to my cousin, and she's like, "You'll never guess what happened. I have the best news." And I'm like, "It's pray tell, I need it." And so she said, with the CARES Act, our tribe got a large chunk of money, and they were trying to figure out what is the best way to spend this money. And they wanted to spend part of it on our youth and ensuring that our youth continue to get an education, because the Klamath tribes place high value on education, always have. And so they went to the schools and they said, "Give us a bucket list. Give us a bucket list of the things that you want, your biggest dreams. Dream big. Tell us how we get kids back in the schools safely and get them the education they need." And so the elementary school teacher or principal came back with a list. And I'll tell you what's on the top of her list. You'll probably guess like crazy things, but here's the top of her list, and this is sad. She wanted hot water for her kids to wash their hands. This school that I had gone to as a kid, it didn't seem abnormal to me, but we didn't have hot water to wash our hands. The only hot water in the school was in the cafeteria. And so in order for our kids to go to school and be healthy, only $10,000 was standing between us and healthy hand hygiene that keeps our kids in school. And our tribe looked at it and they said, "Done." And this is crazy because my tribe has lived in poverty since I was born. But before I was born, when my mom was very young, before our tribe was terminated, we were the second wealthiest tribe in the United States. The second wealthiest. And now we live in poverty. And so our tribe finally had money and they had access to resources, thing they had never had before. And what did they do? They found the problem, they asked the questions, and they found Indigenous solutions for Indigenous problems. And so you're probably wondering, what the heck is this story about? Why are you talking about this? And my point is that I stand here in a room full of people with power, people who have adjacency to power, people who have access to resources that my people will never know. And I know that many of you believe and strongly feel that our people have been wronged and you want to help us. I know that. I know the hearts of many people in here. But what I would say is missing in that fight is the voice of our people. A lot of people... People want to throw money at our tribe, but tell us how to spend it. Or they want to set regulations that affect our people without asking how it affects us. And so what I ask for you is, yes, still resources. We still need resources. We can't magically make up money, but more important than that is I ask for a voice at the table. If you're in a room where decisions are being made that will affect Indigenous people, and I would argue that every decision you make in the state, there needs to be an Indigenous voice at the table, if not 2 or 3. So that is what I ask for you today. That is the action portion of this. But I will give you a land acknowledgement, as promised. So if you ask the Burns Paiute people, who are the traditional inhabitants of Central Oregon, they would say, we are. We've hunted and fished and gathered there for millennia. And if you ask the Warm Springs people who it is, they say, we are. We have sacred sites there. And if you ask the Klamath people, they'll say, we have ancestral burial remains on the route up to the Columbia River in that area. And the Yahuskin Band of Paiute, they're part of the Confederated Klamath Tribes, will say, yeah, and we also hunted and fished there. And so the answer to whose land we should acknowledge this is all kinds of Indigenous people. And my point of that story is that if you had just looked up in a book who the original inhabitants of this land are, you'd likely hear the Warm Springs or possibly the Malawa. You wouldn't have gotten the full picture. And that's what I'm asking you to do, is to give Indigenous people who have that Indigenous knowledge a voice at the table so you're better informed. Thank you for your time.
Yes, Amanda, we got our land acknowledgement and more. That is extremely invaluable. Thank you. Now I would like to welcome to the stage my admin colleagues for some very important recognitions. Nathan Saltz, who is the secretary of our DPO, and Vice Chair Eileen Kiley.
So Nathan,
Yes, Eileen.
have you filled out your SEL 105 to be a PCP yet?
I have not, and I have no excuse because you can do it all online now.
Yes, you can. And if you have filled out your SE 105 and you are filed to be a PCP, raise your hand. Enough of us, guys. It's right on the SOS site. You can do it tonight between this and the after party.
Thank you, and that's been a public service message. But on that note, Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and we have the honor to thank a very special group of people, our donors. So if you're a member of one of these donor groups, will you please wave as I call them out? Our President's Council members. Yeah. Our Capital Circle members. And of course, our grassroots Democrats. That's you.
No, you have another one.
Oh.
You do.
I'm supposed to double thank you all for giving us our base of support. Thank you all again.
Yeah, we're here all weekend, folks. We are actually. It is now my honor to sincerely thank the sponsors of this event. Nathan's going to help me because there's a lot. Thank you. But we ask that you please hold your applause until at least the end of the category. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night. So our premier sponsors are U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, behave yourselves. Don't you start being the House Republican caucus here, you know? UFCW Local 555 and Oregon Ranked Choice Voting. Those are our premium sponsors. Go ahead and applaud. Our platinum sponsors are the Cow Creek Band of the Umpqua Tribe of Indians, IBEW 48, Local 48, U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley, Governor Tina Kotek. All right, we're getting into this again. California Governor Gavin Newsom, OFNHP, Oregon Education Association, SEIU Local 49, Espousal Strategies, King Estate Winery. Okay, I'm going to pause for that one. They're giving us a lot of wine. You can talk. Thank you. Morel Inc., NGP Van, New Sun Energy, Target Smart, and PacWest Lobby Group.
And our gold sponsors, Congressman Earl Blumenauer, Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici, Congresswoman Val Hoyle, Congresswoman Andrea Salinas, Treasurer Tobias Reed, Senate President Matt Wagner, the man who signs my check, State Senator Lou Frederick, State Senator James Manning, State Senator Elizabeth Steiner, House Speaker Dan Rayfield, Act Blue, Blue States PAC, Deliver Strategies, Elevated Campaigns, Future PAC, OPAD Consulting, SDLF, Stones Phones, and Winning Mark.
And our silver sponsors, Labor Commissioner Christina Stevenson, Senate Majority Leader Kate Lieber, you're doing this again. State Representative Ben Bowman, State Representative Rob Nose, Metro President Lynn Peterson, Oregon State Building and Construction Trades Council, Iron Workers Local 29, Joint Council of Teamsters 37, Northwest Oregon Labor Council AFL-CIO, Smart Transportation Division, Barnett Strategies, Bright Blue Inc., Imperial Media, Oregon Wild, the Pivot Group, Stewart Collective, and Winning Connections. Oh, I have more. We're honored to have with us this weekend as our guest speakers, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, DNC Vice Chair Ken Martin, also chair of the Association of State Democratic Committees, and many, many more special guests who will be speaking throughout the weekend at our meals and our panels. Additionally, we are honored to have Governor Tina Kotek, Senator Jeff Merkley, congressional leaders, statewide elected officials, and legislative leaders here throughout the weekend. If you are a candidate or are an elected official, please raise your hand now. We are so grateful you are here and you are running. You are the reason we do this work, so that we can get democratic values passed in every legislature, every state in this country.
We also want to give a special thank you to our workshop speakers who have traveled from across the state and from across the country to provide us with innovative ideas for the future of our party and our state. Thank you. This event would not be possible without you. And we also want to thank our volunteers for donating their time this weekend. Please, a big thanks to our volunteers. They all have purple name tags, so as you see them around this weekend, please take a moment to tell them thank you. And we also have press here this weekend who are wearing bright pink name tags. And now we want to welcome back to the stage our friend, our unflappable chair, Rosa Colquitt.
You know what? You guys are easy. This is not the Wayne Morse Gala. You guys are easy. Thank you, Nathan and Eileen. The last time I was given the privilege of introducing our governor, it was August 2022 at the Portland Hilton Wayne Morse Gala. In preparation, you need to lower that. Yeah, that's right, the tall ones. In preparation for such an honor, I watched a campaign video of our then 2022 Democratic nominee for governor, Tina Kotek. She said these words, and I etched them into my heart so that I could continue carrying those words forth until November 8th, and I quote, "Oregon is a place of possibility. This campaign is about building a future where the possibility is available to everyone." Building a future for everyone. I was so glad, Governor, that you said everyone, because that included me, my children, and all of my loved ones. I'm really happy that you did that. No one was left out in the governor's vision of getting big things across the finish line for everyone in Oregon. Let us remember that. In the brief moment I have to introduce Governor Kotek, it would take an hour, not the 2 minutes that I'm supposed to have, to recount her work in the Oregon House. But I want to highlight the unique person that she is, the important, phenomenal, and I quote, people work that she did before coming to elective office, not just when she got there, but the person that was built for that position. It makes her so unique to serve as our Oregon governor. First, serving as public policy advocate for the Oregon Food Bank. I know something about that. I've done some volunteer work there. Then policy director of Children First for Oregon. And later, during the 2002 budget crisis, serving as co-chair of the governor's Medicaid Advisory Committee. We have a people's governor. Please join me in welcoming Governor Tina Kotek to the stage.
Thank you, Dr. Colquitt. Good to see you. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? It's nice to see you all this evening. It's a real honor to be here as your governor. Thank you for the opportunity to kick off the summit, 12th biennial summit here in Sun River. It's good to see so many people here. It's nice to see you all. One thing about being governor, you don't get to see as many people sometimes, so it's really good to see everybody here tonight. I'm grateful to be back in this room. Last October was a little more stressful. We all knew we had a very tough race for governor and other races in 2022, and Democrats do what Democrats do. You went out, you organized the grassroots, you knocked on doors, you convinced voters, you shared your vision with Oregonians, and because of that, I'm your governor today, as well as a lot of other great Democrats, so thank you. One of the things I always like to highlight about 2022 was the role of our youngest voters. Our young people who are worried about their future, and how many of them walked and talked with voters in 2022, whether it was about climate or gun violence or choice. They showed up because young people believe in what we do as Democrats, because we are about making progress. We are about building a better future. And because of that, we will continue, I believe, to have the support of our youngest voters, because they know that we together are going to build a future together. So I want to big a shout out for all of our young advocates out there. So when I took office in January, it's been a wild ride. It's been a busy 10 months. One of the things I said on that very first week was that we needed to be mission focused on delivering for Oregonians, delivering results on the top priorities of our state, making sure people have housing, making sure we can deal with our mental health and addiction crisis, making sure we can have an education system that our students deserve. And we have stayed focused in this year through the legislature and now, and that focus is absolutely essential. Because I think for Oregon to be successful, for Democrats to be successful, we have to stay focused. We have to deliver results because that's what it means to govern. Are you with me on that? Are we going to stay focused? So over the last year, I made a commitment to visit every county in the state of Oregon. There are 36 counties, for those of you who might not know that, here in our beautiful state. I have visited many of these visits with the First Lady, 32 counties in our beautiful state. We have 4 to go. We know we will visit every county here in our beautiful state before the end of the year. So whether I was in Coos Bay or Culver or Joseph or Gresham or Bly or Christmas Valley, the types of conversations that Oregonians are having are not partisan issues. We all want the same things. We want our communities to be safe. We want our folks to be healthy. We want housing. We want people to be able to get the care they need if they're dealing with a mental health or addiction issue. And we just want our schools to be the best they can be. That is what's going to bring us all together as Oregonians, to focus on those things that we all agree on. And I can tell you that being on the road has been just an amazing experience. And the number one thing, whether I was talking with farmers or social workers or teachers or local elected leaders, I've met a lot of mayors and a lot of county commissioners. Wonderful people who are doing very difficult jobs across our state. Listening to folks who are worried about our houseless neighbors. Folks who work every day serving people who are struggling with addiction. The number one goal for this tour has been to listen, because we cannot listen enough. When we think about what's happening in the world, and we think about what's happening in DC, and God bless you all, you DC delegation folks, we have to listen to each other. We have to stop talking past each other. We have to listen. We have to come together as a state now more than ever. And I believe that the folks in this room know how to do that. And I can tell you, when you're on the road listening to Oregonians, it is an absolute privilege to do so. So let me just share a few stories. One of our very first stops was in Douglas County in the town of Yoncalla. At the elementary school there, they have an early childhood program, which is absolutely amazing. And it was one of our early moments of really understanding how Oregonians, when given the opportunity to sit across the table from each other, can be very vulnerable and talk about what they've experienced, what joys they've had. And this conversation was about early childhood. And it was a grandparent talking about a program that she finally understood in this conversation of the program that she had been in there in Yoncalla, what she had experienced as a child and who she had been as a parent, and how she was trying to make sure for her grandkids that it was going to be different. There are some amazing things happening in our state. And when you sit down and talk to folks in a place like Yoncalla and just hear about how they care about their children, you know that a good future is possible for the kids in that community. We were out in Boardman. I think many of you heard about the high nitrate levels in the domestic well water there in Northeast Oregon. I was out there and we had a town hall style meeting with members of the community who are fearful, but yet hopeful that given the right actions, we can find out who doesn't have good well water, figure out how to mitigate that. But it's not just in the near term. It is about working with industry to stop polluting in the first place. And I can tell you, water quality issues are big across the state, whether it's drinking water or the lack of water if you're in the ag community. You know, listening to a grass seed farmer in Culver talk about what it's meant for the farms around him, because their family has been there multiple generations now growing carrot seed. I think I said grass seed, I said carrot seed. And you can just hear the pain in the voice of the farmers who are like, I can't continue to do this, we have no water. And so we all have to come together as a state, whether it's the Klamath Basin or Umatilla Basin or the folks there in the North Irrigation District here in Central Oregon, understanding how we can do ag differently and figure out how to have the water so we can all have the agricultural sector that we need. But it is tough out there for folks in our rural communities. I was in Seaside. We spent a lot of time talking about behavioral health and housing in our listening tour out in Seaside. There's a wonderful partnership going on where folks came together to buy a motel to not only house folks who are moving out of homelessness, but also the workers who want to serve them in the local healthcare community. And so it's that kind of innovation that we need to see around our state to help people who are hurting, but also help the folks who are doing the job every day to help them. Because I can tell you, they don't have a place to live either. So we need that kind of innovation like they're doing in Seaside. I think one of the things I will say is, while every community is different, I want to come back to the commonality, the themes of Oregonians saying, we need housing, we need healthcare, we need to come together as a community. And I've been inspired on every visit by the can-do attitude in every community saying, we can figure this out. And they're just looking for a partner from the state. They're just looking for us to come together as Oregonians, and us from Salem to communities who feel very far away, that we are going to be there with them. And I want you to just know that while things are hard, Oregonians are strong. They are committed to their communities, and we are continuing to solve problems together because that's who Oregon is. So it's been very inspiring. So I said we have some very key priorities right now, and they're not partisan priorities. Those are issues that will lift up our state, move us forward. And since day one of my administration, I've been focused on these top issues. I want to thank our legislative leaders and all our legislators who are here for the hard work they did in the legislative session. I don't know, it was kind of a hard session. I don't know if you picked up on that. But they persevered and got it done. On day one of my administration, I issued emergency orders around our homelessness emergency and worked with the legislature to approve early in session $217 million to support an emergency response around the state for our houseless neighbors. And then they also followed through to make sure we can pay for that for the biennium, so thank you on that. But those dollars, right now in this first year, are going to keep nearly 9,000 Oregonians from becoming homeless in the first place. It's going to put more shelter capacity in our communities, at least 600 new beds across our state. And it's going to help hundreds of Oregonians move from houselessness into housing in just 1 year because of the hard work of your legislature and us staying focused. But it's not just about building a shelter system statewide that can serve the people who need it. It's also the long-term solution of housing. And in the legislative session, we were all successful in getting $650 million for more housing construction, which is absolutely going to be essential to build more affordable housing because people need a place to go once they are in shelter. The goal is not to be in shelter. The goal is to be in a home. And for those Oregonians who are struggling with other issues, in addition to being homeless, we are moving forward with additional dollars for drug treatment, for mental health treatment as well. In this legislative session, $200 million supported by the legislature for more treatment, for more access to overdose reversal drugs, for the 988 suicide prevention hotline, for more addiction treatment. And just recently, I want to praise the legislature for setting up the new Joint Committee on Addiction and Community Safety Response. And I think our co-chairs are here. Senator Lieber, Representative Kropp, thank you for co-chairing that important committee. Because I can tell you, and I'm sure there are plenty of you in this room who have friends, family, or maybe even yourself who's had to deal with a serious mental health issue or an addiction issue. There are a lot of people around our state who are suffering. And we are going to do more in this upcoming legislative session to make sure they have the help they need. And I have a lot of confidence in our legislators to be there to make good policy choices. And I can tell you that, Again, to govern means to deliver results, and we have to do more when it comes to our addiction crisis. But let's not forget about our youngest. One of the priorities for this, our youngest students is the priority around early literacy, and I know Representative Krupp and some other legislators were really strong allies on this, to make sure we actually spend money to help our schools teach evidence-based approaches to reading so our children can read at grade level, so they can be successful going forward. So I think anyone who knows me knows, well, I love to talk about things that have been accomplished, but I'm more interested in talking about where we're going, because it's just not enough to pass things. You have to put them into practice, and you have to keep pushing forward. So let's talk about the upcoming legislative session. I'll be brief here, but I just want you to know that the work is never done. And again, we as Democrats have to show that we can govern. We have to show that we can deliver results, because we're the party that cares, that wants to help our neighbors. We want folks to be better off. And that means actually getting the job done. And so in this upcoming legislative session, we have more work to do. And I'm going to do everything we can to make sure we have a session, and I know our legislative leaders are going to work hard to do that too. Because we have to have a session for Oregonians so we can focus on housing production. So we can focus on putting more homes in every community around the state in a way that respects our land use system, but also addresses the urgency of the moment that we are facing in our state. And I know together we will get that done in February. I also want to talk about, thank you. I also want to make sure, and I just have to put a plug because I know we have legislators here, we have a lot to do on our early learning side as well. We have to make sure we fill a budget gap for our employer-related daycare program. We have to make sure our early intervention program is well-funded, and we have to make sure that we are doing everything we can to help our students learn this coming summer. So I look forward to working with our legislators for a very robust package to help our youngest here in the state of Oregon. So I'm just going to end with this. I think anyone who's in politics, whether you're a grassroots organizer or you're the governor of the state of Oregon, you have to be hopeful. Because the world's kind of tough right now. So you got to wake up every day and say, we can get this done, we can do this together. And I'm a Democrat because we are the party of progress. We are the party that will accomplish things to make our communities healthier and safer for everyone. And because we do that, I believe we will win in 2024 and bring Democrats to victory in November. But we can only do that together. We have to put aside our differences and work together for the progress of our neighbors. And I know, are you ready to do that with me? Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. We need to win in 24 because Oregonians are counting on us. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be your governor. It's an honor. And this is a heck of a lot more fun when you're not in an election. So it's good to see you all. And thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Now, I really do have to move these down a little bit. Thank you, Governor Kotek. True to the campaign, thank you so much for that informative, inspiring, and encouraging message. Indeed, the point that our governor made, we can get this done, but we have to solidify and work together to make it happen. And we can do that, can't we, Democrats? Absolutely. Yes, Governor, we can work together to get that done. So I want to thank everybody again for being here this weekend. Some were close by, others had to drive long distances, and and we just thank you for being here. You, every one of you, are truly the cornerstone of our Democratic Party. Although you may be headed out this evening for some fun times, I read about some of the things that are going to be going on. Breakfast starts promptly at 8 o'clock a.m. in the Homestead building. Just what you probably didn't want to hear, a lady talking about something starting at 8 o'clock. But again, we are so honored to have some outstanding guests who will join us. I think Eileen mentioned this. I'm excited. I keep looking around this room and I see all of these legislators, folks that worked so hard and pulled through, gave us it turned out for me to be a fabulous legislative session with all that they had to the journey that they had to get through to do that for us. I'm really excited to see all of you. Wave your hand around one more time if you're elected. Again, we have some exciting guests who will join us this weekend. Minnesota Governor, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum, Treasurer Tobias Reed, and Labor Commissioner Christina Stevenson. Again, they do give me housekeeping duties. We need to impress upon you to wear your lanyard. I'm not going to forget mine when I go back to my room, because if I forget it and I go up to one of these volunteers and say, do you mind if I come in this session? My name is Rosa Colquitt, I'm the chair. They're going to say, where's your lanyard? You're the chair, where's your lanyard? And we do this for a purpose. It is to keep all of you safe. We don't want any strangers around here doing anything unseemly. We want to know that it's our sisters and our brothers and all of our Democrats. So please do wear that. We know that some of you will be hosting or attending unofficial hospitality suites events. For those activities, you can find flyers of hospitality suites on the table just outside by the registration. Once again, we start at 8 o'clock a.m. Have yourselves a good old time. Meet and greet, meet old friends, make some new friends, just have a good time. But I want to see you bright and early. Is that a go? So you bet. We still have some time to eat some great food and to mingle and to just be kind to one another and to be good to one another. We're Democrats. We don't do things, I'm not going to talk about the R party, but we don't do things like that. I saw two of them last week throw a punch. Let's be good.